now.
Hey guys, welcome to Sweep Unplugged. Rudy Campos Jr. Going to be joined by a fantastic guest today. Before we get started, be sure to hit that YouTube page, man. Go to YouTube, search Sweep the League TV, hit that subscribe button where you can get all the notifications from the big show, Sweep the League TV, which airs every single day from 9 o'clock, Monday through Friday. You also got Sweep Unplugged, tons of episodes as we get you ready and refocused for the new year. Not only that, two more great podcasts have dropped. You're talking about Grading the Market, which tackles the collectible world, the sports card world, everything that aspects of the game. Plus, y'all asked for it. You've got it recently now. STL 316, the new wrestling podcast out for Sweep the League Network, Refocus Radio. We're all one big family, so be sure to join the Refocus Network and Sweep the League Network today. Who are we talking to today? Well, 2025, we brought you fitness, we brought you finance, we brought you the mental aspects of the game, keeping your mind focused, getting over stressed. And you know what? When we unplug from the sports world, we're going to unplug in another different way, and that is the music side, the hip hop, the rap side. And we've got a very, very special guest today. It's going to be Mr. Kevin King. Today, we're excited to welcome Mr. Kevin King, a New York City-based rapper whose artistry is a unique blend of cultural influences and powerful lyricism. Mr. King's music connects deeply with listeners, offering stories and experiences that resonate across a wide spectrum. We're going to get his journey today. And again, as always, leave those comments in there when this show airs. And we're going to show you how to get a hold of Mr. King as well, because I have a feeling there's going to be a great interview here on Sweep Unplugged. Let's bring him on right now, the one and only Mr. Kevin King. Mr. King, how are you doing, sir?
I am well. I'm actually even more elated now that I've heard the news of the Sweep 316 podcast.
Oh, wrestling fan?
Yeah, I can give you an oh hell yeah.
Well, you know what? We're gonna have to turn the spectrum here a little bit at the end of the show. Get you some wrestling takes, man, so we can kind of put it on. So STL 316. You know, wrestling goes hand in hand with the topic we're gonna talk about, and that's music. Obviously, entrance musics are massively for the wrestlers, but on the music standpoint, I want to let everybody know they can follow you on Instagram at Kevin King 922. You see it scrolling at the bottom there. So go hit him a follow. You want to hit him up, you can hit him up on there as well. How did this journey go for you? Because if I'm not mistaken, you started the journey at the age of 30, which a lot of people say, man, you know, that's kind of late. Well, first and foremost, I started my media journey super late. I was 37 when I did this thing, so almost 9 years ago. Well, yeah, I mean, it's been about 9 years. So it's never too late to start, is I guess where we can go with it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not too late to start. And the truth of it is, I started releasing music right around that age, but I've been making music since I was 17, 16 years old, to some extent, in one way or another, right? I started out doing poetry battles. After that, I was doing like just recordings at home, and I never really put stuff out because I had a lot of sort of anxiety around, you know, being judged and all that sort of stuff. And to me, I think that being able to start putting this stuff out and really dive headfirst into the journey, everything has sort of set itself up in the right way, right? Professionally, musically, I feel like I'm making better music, obviously, than I would have then. And it's just overcoming that hurdle of being seen. The sort of irony, right? You want to be seen, but you also don't want to be judged.
Yeah. Is that the biggest thing? Because I know for me, you know, when I started, it was the same thing you were experiencing. I've got the content, I've got the material. Deep down inside, I know it's good. But is it that criticism part where you're hoping that, man, I hope this goes good. I hope this goes good. We all know, you and I for a fact know this, is that we're going to get a lot of praise, but where we get a lot of praise, we're going to get the criticism as well. Not everybody's going to agree with what I say. Not everybody's going to, you know, like the music that you're putting out, but that has to be a mental block for you as well, to where you just got to say, you know what, it's a grind. It's going to be a grind. And that's the focus that I think you can provide for all of us here, is that pretty much the thought process when releasing new tracks and getting yourself out there?
Yeah, it's a huge commitment. Like right now, I'm committing to releasing something, every 3 to 4 weeks at most.
Mhm.
So it's really been consistently being in the studio, making music, um, regardless of what the reception or the feedback is. It's been good, thank God, right? If it hadn't been, it's still about making those steps towards what my end goal is. I think the other thing that a lot of people worry about is being seen at zero, right?
Mhm.
People are scared to be on YouTube and get 12 views and have put any work into something, right?
Right.
Um, same thing over time. It's like people want to be seen as a success, so they're worried about that initial step of being, the fledgling, the starting guy. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's a lot of that for sure.
It's funny because I think in if you're going back in time roughly, you as an artist, and I'm going to go straight to the artist standpoint, talking to Kevin King. Be sure to go check out it's King's Ransom, right? That's
Yes,
what's
sir.
out there. So King, check out King's Ransom. You want to get a hold of him. Instagram at Kevin King 922. Back then, before let's go before the American Idol days, where you had people coming in and you're trying out, you're trying to make it big. You had to really go out there, and that kind of grind is different from the grind we're seeing now. That grind was recording a demo and then you distributing the demo, hitting up radio stations, going out on the streets, passing out your CD or cassette at the time. You had to put in the work to where now basically an app like TikTok can get you noticed right away. So being that you've got billions of eyes on you on a social media app, is that grind more difficult to get noticed from back then? Because I felt personally back then getting noticed and putting in the grind and putting in the work back then just made me feel a little bit more better about everything. Because when you got noticed. But now it just seems like it's harder to get those eyes on you because they're on everybody.
Yeah, there's no gatekeepers in media right now, which is great because anyone can start, right? Anyone can get behind a microphone, get behind a camera, do what they want to do, and express themselves. The difficulty in that is because there aren't any gatekeepers. Everybody's consuming content at a ridiculous rate, so you're competing with a lot more people, and often even beyond just the quality of it, it's the pure quantity, right?
Mhm.
Even if you show me something really good, if I've listened to five things before it that I really didn't like, right? And I don't mean this necessarily just about music, I mean this about anything.
Mhm.
Five things in that same lane I didn't like in the last 10 minutes. Well, now my brain is grouping it with all these other things, right?
Right.
So it's definitely it's you got to stand out in a way that you maybe didn't as much before, right? Because you just had to find the right people, find the right connections. There was still luck. There's always going to be luck involved, but yeah, it's different. I never say it's harder, and I never say it's easier. It's just evolved because now you can find your audience. Like
Yeah.
everybody has an audience. I was listening to some really interesting music where there weren't any lyrics and it's just basically like instrumental noise. It's not even like songs. They're just like in like you ever go into a factory and you're like the clanking and stuff. It's like
Yeah.
they've made that into the music, and that might not be for me, but that audience is found for them, right? They're getting what 60, 70,000 monthly listeners on Spotify. And you're like, okay, well we can find something.
Yeah, I hear you because I think a friend of mine, she does, and it's called like ASMR. It's like a
Yeah.
relaxing type thing. So, she has where her nails and she clanks them on bowls and everything, and apparently it's relaxing. And I've tried listening to it, and I'm like, man, I don't think I can get through with this here. But hey, she gets a lot of listeners, and I'm like, wow, okay, yeah, I get completely what you're saying. You're gonna find your audience out there, and the one thing we gotta find too is the inspiration part. As a musical artist, you've got to have inspiration, and it can't just be, you know, usually just one thing. You can't just stare at something and it's all the time and you're coming up with something. What drives your inspiration? We've heard, many artists before say, inspiration was the background I had growing up, and that just kind of led me to this. It could be, a spiritual inspiration. It's just something. But for Kevin King, where do those inspirations come from when you're sitting down and writing that next great hit?
Yeah, it's a collection of found experiences, right? So, to some extent, of course, is my background growing up. I come from the South Bronx, one of that's the foundation of hip hop. But we saw a lot growing up, and that's easy to sort of convert into song. I think sometimes it's just the life that I led as an adult. Like, man, I worked a sales job. I
Hmm.
worked in tech. I work in IT now. So it's definitely one of those things where I can parlay those experiences because you see a lot of the common human experience. It's funny because I was thinking the other day about Ludacris. I don't
Yeah.
you ever hear that song Slap by Ludacris?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm pretty sure
Everybody
I have.
knows, right? I feel like slapping somebody today.
Yeah.
Uh he on that song is talking about stuff that's just like, oh, it's my 9 to 5. It's like Ludacris didn't work a 9 to 5. So you get that inspiration from wherever you see stuff, you see other art, you see things in real life and sometimes you just build a song because you feel like it. You just like, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm gonna do this.
I hear you, man. I hear you. Shemaya, great friend of mine, one of my best friends, is, he'll slap me down every now and then and like, man, write something out. Or just write anything. I'll make it work. I'm like, man, I'm not even I'm sports. I can't do nothing, as far as, writing lyrics or anything. Talking to Kevin King again. Follow Kevin King on Instagram at Kevin King 922. You can find all his amazing work. King's Ransom is the one you've got to be looking for. We're gonna give you more information that at the end of the show. The inspiration part, we talked about the writing. Now, background. My little thing was I grew up when the Cypress Hill and the NWA days, and Dr. Dre releasing the Chronic that just blew everybody away, all the way to, like you mentioned, the instrumental stuff where it was Kings of Bass. I used to have a CD of theirs, and it was just basing out in the car. But for you growing up, in NYC, you're talking Biggie. I mean, you've got a lot of guys that were coming up in NYC, obviously. Give me some of those guys or girls that you were listening to, even groups at the time that, were like, okay, this is my go-to right here.
Yeah, if we're talking purely NYC, it's got to be Cameron back in the day.
Hmm.
DMX especially, I think is probably one of my biggest influences. Biggie, of course, LL Cool J. Like, I think it's a litany of influences. The good thing is, of course, New York is got its local sound, but it's also got a lot of that regional blend as well, right? So you
Yeah.
hear artists from the South, right? Like Outkast was huge up here.
Yeah.
Uh, you hear in Ludacris, you hear artists from the West, you hear artists from everywhere. So it's there's a lot of influence from those kinds of sounds as well. More modern day, somebody like a Kendrick Lamar, somebody like an Absol, really like lyrical guy there. But yeah, I think it's a variety of different places, but those are the main ones.
Yeah, I can't name you a whole bunch of artists from today because I'm the old man. I'm like, I can't drop Samaya and another co-host were like, hey, you listening to the Weekend, and I'm like, I don't even know who the hell the Weekend was, and I'm thinking, well, the only weekend I know is Saturday, Sunday. I don't know anything else about a weekend, so I'm having to get schooled in a lot of that stuff. I'm going to put you on the spot here. Let's have a little bit of fun here. So, again, before we jump onto this, Kevin King on Instagram at Kevin King 922. We're talking to Kevin King, New York City based New York City rapper. And I got to put it on. I got to put it on you. Happens, I don't get it very often all the time. To get a musician of your caliber on here, you're doing great things, but you got to do the ranking, man. Rank them up. Give me your top five in the rap game all time.
The top five is probably disgusting. I have to have Biggie on there.
Okay.
I gotta have, of course, Jay. I feel like those are the ones everybody is always gonna have, right? I would say Pac. I would say Kendrick really is found his way up there at this point. Um, man, it's a toss up. A lot of people will say M. Um, do I agree with that? I don't agree with that. I love Eminem, but I don't know that he's in my top five. I would probably say like a Method Man would probably be up there too.
Man, Method Man. I I'm not gonna, we don't fight here on STL Unplugged, but I would definitely say, okay, I don't know much about Kendrick, so it's like I can't put him up there. And the most controversial one to me is always Jay-Z because everybody has Jay up there.
Yeah.
I agree with Biggie. Agree with Tupac. For me, I definitely would put Eminem in my top five. But one guy that doesn't get a lot of love and people seem to be overlooking him was in my top five, and probably I would say even number one on my list has always been Nas.
Oh yeah. I mean, it depends on what you're talking about though, right? Like are we saying top
True.
five just song makers? I mean, I could see that. Top five lyricists. Again, I could definitely see Nas up there. Like it depends. Like if we just talk about pure rapping ability, for
Yeah.
me actually my all-time GOAT maybe, and this is the one that'll get me skewered, is Andre 3000. I think
Wow.
he's
Okay. Okay.
you know what gets me upset with his flute album is that we everybody wants him to rap. It's a big thing in the community. We're just like freaking rap already. And it's like when Michael Jordan went to go play baseball. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like you know what he could be doing. Like imagine Beethoven was like, I'm gonna drop a mixtape. You'd be like, man, get back on those keys and start. You know what I mean? Um, so yeah, no, Andre 3000 might actually be my favorite rapper of all time. Actually, I'm gonna amend my top five, and I'm gonna pop. And this was all in no particular order anyway. I'm gonna put Andre 3000 in there, and I'm gonna take out Method Man actually.
Man, that's a tough one. I mean, so many great, artists that have come up. You mentioned Method Man, part of Wu-Tang Clan. I mean, one of the greatest groups all around, man. Wu-Tang. I loved all the Wu-Tang because Method Man. You had what, Redman, Ghostface. I mean, you had a bunch of guys, and even Ghostface Killer. He came out with an album that I really enjoyed. Off the hand,
Yeah,
can't remember. I knew that all I got is you is the one song that I really remember from him. That stood out because I had a whole lot of friends that were going through that back in the day. But it's always difficult. People, argue on X and argue in a lot of places about ranking the top guys, and the most consistent you see are the three guys, and that's Jay, Biggie, and Pac. I mean, pretty much those three guys are going to be in everybody's list. Didn't I would probably put Jay on my top five, not in the top part of it, but he would probably be in my top five. So it just goes to show you. I mean, no list is perfect, and it's only perfect to you. And we're talking to Kevin King. But go follow Kevin King on Instagram at Kevin King 922. If you have to give some advice to somebody who wants to get into the game, and again, it goes back to what we talked about in the beginning, saying you just got to get out there. Don't be afraid. It's scary to take that first step, but once you do, you tend to start running really fast because it's an exciting moment and you get a lot of traction. But giving some people some insight from your perspective, what advice would you give them if they want to enter the music world in general, just to get out there?
yeah, have a strategy. That's all it really is, and it doesn't have to be the perfect strategy. It doesn't have to be a great strategy. It just should be something. I think that's the main thing that you can do for yourself, just so that you sort of aren't going out there with no plan and then being discouraged by that. But then secondarily is just to do what you want to do, right? You can only get there by actually doing it in the first place. So put yourself out there, for sure. Plan it out a little bit at least and let it rip.
There you go, man. There you go. That's some sound advice you're getting from Kevin King. And again, we want to talk to him a little bit about wrestling because I just found out he's a wrestling guy here. So we get his take on a couple of things here. But I'm going to put you again on the spot. No ranking. Don't worry about that. There's no more ranking on that aspect. So you don't have to worry about that part here. But we're talking MSG, Madison Square Garden. And you see the lights, you see the glamour. Over in Times Square, they got a massive poster, concert poster with Kevin King headlining it. And the promoter comes up and says, Kev, I need you to know, who do you want to open up for you? Give me three artists you want to open up for Kevin King here because we're sold out. We need this massive, massive concert going. Who would you want those three to be to open up for you?
Yeah. Wow. I've heard that question the opposite way. Who am I opening up for? Right.
No, this is your platform, man.
Yeah.
You are the mainstream guy here. You're the main guy.
That's a big ask. I have a couple guys that I really love working with that hopefully can, we all get on the same level and we all sort of move forward together. In Rome Holman and Reggie Rude, two really dope MCs. But if we're talking about MCs that people might know, I would think again, like an Absol would be a really cool opener. Somebody like a Joey Badass, because we're talking about MSG. It's got to be somebody regional too, right? To some at least one of them.
Yeah.
Somebody from New York in that scene. So yeah, I mean, those would probably be my two off the top of my head.
There you go, man. Yeah, we got to put you on the spot there for that. You deserve the credit. And if you're speaking it now, you're speaking it into existence. So
That's true.
I'm telling you now, when you open that MSG and you've got your concert lined up, I'm gonna have Shemaya contact you so we can head up there and be a
Yeah,
part of the fun, man. That's definitely
love
gonna
that.
be good.
Yeah, would love that. Would love that.
Oh yeah, for sure, man, for sure. I've never been to New York, so that would definitely be my first and probably my only appearance would be just to go hit up a Kevin King concert, which is going to happen very, very soon, man. Talking to Kevin King here. Hit him up on Instagram at Kevin King 922. Best places to eat in New York, man, because we've got people in New York and they're dropping places left and right. What are those go-to places in New York for some food? And to be honest, one of the guys who used to live up there, he's a Spurs reporter, and he always said that you could get the best food even at like 2 or 3 in the morning. So, what are Kevin King's
Yeah.
best food spots up there?
If we're talking about pizza, Scars.
Mm-hmm.
Scars Pizza is really dope. That is, I want to say Lower East Side. I don't know. Those neighborhoods start to get real confusing as to what the boundaries are after a little while. Yeah,
Yeah.
in Lower Manhattan. Or Ruby Rosa, another great pizza spot. If you into, any sort of Asian food, especially Thai, you can find some great places in Jackson Heights. There's a spot called Ayata. It's really dope. If you're talking about Spanish food, man, I think the best, and by Spanish I mean Hispanic, not like from Spain.
Yeah.
Uh, though if you want Spain food, I would say there's a place that is really really dope that does tapas, and the name is escaping me right now. And I love the spot, and I can't remember it off the top of my head right now. But their little chain, I think it's like Boricua or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But the other place that I would say if you like Hispanic food, man, there's nothing like a Caridad, or just like we got like little chains in New York,
Yeah.
and those are the best. Those will really those will really be the places that I would recommend to people. But if you want burgers and stuff, it depends. New York is there's no such thing as a food desert in New York,
Yeah.
right? Like you could go to any borough, you could find good food. You could go to some places like Queens, you could find pretty much any type of food in Queens you want. I'm a Bronx baby, so for me, I know like Caribbean food is really easy to find. That's really good in the Bronx. You could close your eyes, throw a dart, and you'll find something good. Same thing with pizza, Italian food in Little Italy. So it's always, if you ask me what's the best spot, my recommendation is first up. Oh, by the way, the place is called Boqueria. If you ask me, like, I'd be like, what are you in the mood for? Right. And I probably have a recommendation for it.
There you go, man. There you go. Can't wait to head up to New York, head up Kevin King, so I can get some food. I need some good food in my life. I've dropped so much weight that I need to get back to eating the bad stuff, is what they say. I gotta live a little bit more, man. Talking to Kevin King, man, and we're hit him up on Instagram at Kevin King 922. King's Ransom is something that you've got to go check out today, right now. Even if you're listening to us, just go download it now. It's King Ransom. Again, Kevin King on Instagram at Kevin King 922. The wrestling world, you first commented, I got to check out STL 316, which is a new podcast that gets dropped weekly now. And the news from yesterday, to catch up with that, the WWE and
Yeah,
TNA merger.
NXT.
So,
Yes,
yeah, we
yes.
talked about it yesterday for about 10 minutes with the Doctor of Style. Sith is one of our co-hosts that we call him. And he was breaking it down. So I want to hear Kevin King's breakdown on that, because WWE and TNA merging, I mean, it's opening up a lot of avenues, a lot of doors, and apparently it's going to be fun. And not only that, we had the debut of one of my favorites from Lucha Underground and Penta recently in WWE. But what about that merger, man?
Yeah. So first off, Pence's debut was really dope. I thought it
Yeah.
was cool. I mean, the match was great. The girl was crying at the front row, so he
Mhm.
feels more important. But that it's not a merger, right? It's just a partnership. It's sort
So
of what they've been doing.
yeah, it's pretty much a partnership. They're calling it a merger, I guess, now because it's more open and it's public now.
Yeah.
So basically, what it's going to be is it's going to primarily be NXT and TNA just kind of swapping guys and maybe
Yep.
coming up to the main roster. But then you're going to get those pay-per-views, those crossover pay-per-views that a lot of people want to see. So that's pretty much what it came down to.
You're gonna get Slammiversary, New Year's Evil at the same time. That'll be interesting. Uh, One I saw somewhere online today, AJ Francis keeps finding his way back into WWE, and I think that's hysterical. But beyond that, I think it's a cool merger. TNA has a lot of really interesting talent, so you might see like the Hardys again in
Yeah,
WWE, right? Just show up on NXT, something like that. NXT gets treated so much like a separate brand from the main roster
yeah.
that it doesn't feel like a WWE TNA merger. It definitely feels like NXT and TNA. But I think it's cool. There's a lot of really good talent in TNA. I think it'll be interesting to see how it affects talent that happens to work shows for AEW as well.
Mhm.
I think that was more common earlier on in AEW's existence, right? They were bringing in guys from TNA. Right now, they're much more heavily invested in like New Japan. Um, so we'll see how that plays out, because I think there are some people that might be inhibited a little bit there. Thinking like a Deonna Purrazzo, right, who
Mhm.
was signed to TNA when she first started appearing in AEW. But I think it's good. I think anything that gets more eyes on more wrestling is going to be a good thing. And I think that grabbing that national audience for TNA, the company that will not die, is going to be cool.
I don't know if I'll ever forgive TNA and Sting for doing Joker Sting from back in the day.
You didn't like Joker's thing?
I couldn't wrap my head around it. As great and as you know, I mean, the idea was perfect, but I couldn't wrap my head around Joker Sting. I don't know. I guess that's the old man in me. I don't know.
No, I could see why. I feel like Joker Sting wasn't really like a real character. He just kind of was face painted as the Joker and was just a little more
Yeah.
crazy. But I like that about him. Sting is such a great character actor. You remember when Sting took the mask off and he
Mhm.
was wearing his face paint?
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that's one of the funniest things. I think that's just like ridiculous. Sting is great. I love Joker's thing. I can't forgive TNA for 38 years of Jeff Jarrett winning every title imaginable
Yeah.
and Hulk Hogan coming in there and being Hulk Hogan and Eric Bischoff. But uh, I, I'm happy the company's still around. It's still a little piece of the nostalgia, I think.
you know, yeah, because now you've got the merger, you've got stuff that they can do, the partnership or merger, what we're going to call WWE and TNA, and I understand the 38 years of Jeff Jarrett and all that stuff. I mean, to me, Jeff Jarrett has been he's like that the cockroach that won't die, not in a disrespectful way. I love him, his personality and stuff, but it's like he always seems to find his way back to the top and the king of the mountain and this and that. And that's kind of where I'm like, man, I like you, Jeff, but not enough to see you all the time. And, with Joker Sting, I think what it was the bar was set so high with Crow Sting that I just couldn't accept anything more after that. So I mean, I guess that's like I said, that's just my little whole thing from back in the day. But before we go, man, anything you want to let the listeners know, give them some insight on anything going on, any more last words for them, because everything you're doing is amazing. It's on the rise. We here at Sweep Unplugged, as well as the Sweep the League TV network, also Refocused network, we're behind you 100%. Anything we can promote for you, which we do actually promote for you on Sweep the League TV. We run a commercial for you every single time we're on there. So anything we can do to promote for you, we will. But let everybody know, get a hold of you. If you want to let them any projects coming up, anything you got, the platform is yours, sir.
Yeah. So the little scrolly at the bottom says you can find me on Instagram. You can find me anywhere at Kevin King 922, except Redno right now. I'm not ready yet to download this new platform. But YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, anything at Kevin King 922. On Spotify, King's Ransom, Kevin King, King's Ransom is up there. We have a song coming in the next couple of days. So that'll be really cool. And definitely check that out. But yeah, that's really it for me. I really appreciate you guys giving me this platform. I really appreciate working with you and being able to have these conversations. I think it's really dope to just hear the different perspectives that you guys have, and even beyond the interview portion of it, right? It's just these conversations have been really, really productive and really cool.
Awesome. We really appreciate you joining us here. And we actually look forward to having you on. We also look forward to helping you promote your music, man. Like I said, we run that promotion for you pretty much nightly when we do our Sweep the League TV episode, which is the big show. So definitely showing you a lot of love because you do a lot of great work. And congratulations on the success you have now and the success you will be getting later on in the future. I will hit you up for some tickets in MSG when you're performing up there. So I got to get up there for you.
You get them. You'll get them. Just at some point, you got to have me on STL 316 because
We
that'll
will.
be, oh man, that'll be fun.
We will definitely make that happen. And you know what? We'll make that happen very, very soon for you here to get you on STL 316. Talking to Kevin King. Again, if you want to follow him on Instagram or wherever social media is, it's at Kevin King 922. And remember, hit up YouTube, search Sweep the League TV, hit that subscribe button. Why? Because you get content like this. You get Sweep Unplugged, you get STL Music, Wemby the Future. That song dropped New Year's Day. Broken Soul, another one dropped from STL Music as well. So music is coming in hot. You've got Great in the Market. You've got STL 316, which is going to have Kevin King on it here pretty soon, talking anything and everything about wrestling. So for Kevin King, Rudy Campos Jr., until we unplug from Sweep the League, we'll see you later, knuckleheads.